Hello and welcome to Round 9 coverage of Grand Prix Pittsburgh. I'm Brian David Marshall, joined in the booth by Jacob Van Lunen, and there you see Eli Cassiss on your left. He's playing 4-color Copycat, Jake. This was the deck everyone was scared of going into the Pro Tour last weekend. Didn't really see much of it by the time we got to day 2. But here it is at 8-0, and it is playing against the blue-red Fevered Emerge deck of Steve Rubin. And this deck, well, what's going on with this deck for people who are just tuning in?
All right, so Steve Rubin likes to use cards like Cathartic Reunion to put cards that work well in the graveyard, like Stitchwing Scab, into the graveyard. Then he returns Stitchwing Scab to play by paying 2 mana, discarding 2 cards. But some of those cards might be prized amalgams or Kozilek's returns. And then he ends up building this board out of his graveyard, and then he finishes off games by tapping his opponent's permanents turn after turn after turn with a card like Elder Deep Fiend.
So there you see Cathartic Reunion. But there's more. There's also Fevered Visions.
Yeah, and because he can discard so many cards so easily to fill up his graveyard, he can also discard cards to put those creatures from his graveyard into play, so he can keep his hand really small. Meanwhile, everybody else gets a hand clogged full of spells, and he just kills them with Fevered Visions.
Yeah, he just has like lots of uses for those extra cards. But his opponent, yeah, they will kind of like get really congested, and then they start taking 2 damage from Fevered Visions every turn, sometimes 4 if there's 2 Fevered Visions in play. Meanwhile, here we see Eli plays Oath of Nissa after playing a turn 2 Servant of the Conduit. And he is looking to combo kill his opponent out with a Saheeli Rai and Felidar Guardian, and just basically making an infinite number of cats that all have haste. That's why the deck's called Copycat.
Oath of Nissa is absurd in this deck, by the way. You can have no cards in hand and have absolutely no board and cast Oath of Nissa, find yourself a Felidar Guardian, blink Oath of Nissa, then find yourself as a Healy Rai and win the game completely out of nowhere.
So there you see Eli plays a Tireless Tracker, then draws a card at the end of his turn from Fevered Visions, and then because he has, enough cards in his hand, he takes 2 damage.
And it's going to be really hard for Eli to empty his hand enough, although it's a lot easier for him than it would be for the straight Jeskai version.
Well, here's a second copy of Fevered Visions for Steve Rubin. So that means Steve's going to get to draw 2 cards at the end of the turn. There's no impact for him. This is only it only deals damage to an opponent if they have 4 or more cards in their hand. And so
that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, Eli's going to take 4 this turn. Almost certainly. I can't even imagine what he could possibly do to get his hand under 4 cards. This really is very reminiscent of classic Howling Mine decks from way, way back in the early days of Magic.
Some of my favorite decks to play back then.
Although you had to get them with a spell like Stormseeker and Fork It and
all
sorts of stuff that's not going to even show up in our card viewer.
You just milled people to death most of the time.
All right, here's a Felidar Guardian. Felidar Guardian blinks out a land. And, this is Eli's doing a pretty good job here of getting, he gets down to 4 cards. He's going to draw 2 more. But you know what? He can mount a pretty impressive offense and maybe put Steve Rubin under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and the thing is that now that he has the Felidar Guardian, it's got to be pretty scary for Steve because Eli's deck, it can win out of nowhere, and Steve's not playing that many interactive cards that interact with the combo here.
Right. Steve is going to need to have a Lightning Axe here.
Yeah, he's going to need a Lightning Axe or a Fiery Temper. And he could use the Fiery Temper Madness with the Stitchwing Scab in his graveyard
take care
also.
Of Sealy. But he's also got Cathartic Reunion, so he's going to find 3 more cards and get to look at 2 more cards at the end of his turn. There's a Lightning Axe, it looks like.
And Eli has no way to protect the combo. Eli's backup plan to the combo isn't let me counter their spells that are trying to mess it up. His backup plan is I'm going to kill you with
his
creatures.
backup plan is Tireless Tracker, right? I'm going to make a 6/5 Tireless Tracker and kill you.
Yeah, and he's just, he can use Felidar Guardian and Saheeli just for value with cards like Oath of Nissa or Oath of Chandra.
Now, Steve doesn't really know what's going on in Eli's deck. He doesn't know whether he can protect it or not. Does he just Lightning Axe that card, that Felidar Guardian right now? Or does he wait till his opponent commits a Saheeli to the board?
That's a good question. It's a really hard decision, actually. Not knowing what's in Eli's deck, Steve might just want to do it right now. But if he knows what's in Ely's deck, or if he's like smart enough to figure it out based on what he's seen thus far,
Or if they've played
then
next
he
to each
would-
other for a couple of rounds.
yeah, then he would know that he can wait and that it's safe to wait. So this is really one of those situations where knowledge of your opponent's deck makes a big difference as to what your line of play is going to be.
We might see another Cathartic Reunion here.
I think he's playing Tormenting Voice as well.
Oh, he's discarding to bring back Stitchwing Scab. Passes the turn with 1 mana open. There you see the Stitchwing Scab. And Ely's like, this is as good as it gets. Here's my combo piece. Yep.
Yeah.
If you're going to give me the ability to draw this many cards. He's like, okay. Activates the Healy, making a copy of Felidar Guardian. But, oh my gosh, he's got the Lightning Axe, but Ely shows him, I've got a second copy of Felidar Guardian, and I have the mana to cast it. It'll come into play, it'll blink Saheeli Rai. Saheeli Rai will come back, and then he'll be able to just do the whole infinite combo, make, I don't know, 17,000. Just a modest number copies of Felidar Guardian. They all have haste and attack Steve Rubin for the win. Wow. It's one of the dangers of, I guess, playing Fevered Visions against a combo deck that's looking for 2 very specific cards.
Yeah. I mean, you're helping them put together the perfect hand, and when Ely's got a perfect hand, it's going to be pretty impossible to beat him.
So now we're going to flip over, and we see David Haas playing Christopher Marchon. And again, 2 players playing for 9-0, and Teamer Marvel versus Jeskai Control. And the Jeskai Control deck is similar to what Lucas Blahan played at the Pro Tour. And so this is very similar to the Saheeli deck, but it just doesn't have the Saheeli combo.
Yeah, one of the things I really like about that deck is that I'm sure at the Pro Tour, even more than this weekend, every single opponent is going to be playing around you, comboing them, and you're not wasting any cards on that combo.
So Teamer Marvel, this does again have the combo in it.
Yes.
And you're looking to Aetherworks Marvel into it. So here you see Saheeli Rai for David Haas.
Pretty exciting to see all of these decks here at 8-0, because coming into this weekend and throughout the day when we've been looking at the top tables, it has just been littered with Black-Green Constrictor decks.
Yeah. But it's been raining Gear Hulks here for a couple rounds now.
Yeah.
And Torrential Gear Hulk flashes back. A glimmer of genius for Marchon. Fills his hand. Oh, but here is the Elder Deep Fiend looking to tap down Christopher Marchon's mana, so he's not able to do anything. Now, Christopher has Disallow in hand, and so he's got to think about what's more important here, the body or the effect. Oh, yeah, I guess you would do is you just let him tap your mana.
Yeah, you tap them in
You
response.
tap them
and
in
you use the
response,
disallow,
and you're going to just counter the body.
Yeah. Elder Deep Fiend has been so good this weekend. That's a card that I think was pretty much non-existent in this format until this weekend, and we've been seeing it all over. But not all over, just like in a few decks, but all of them are like 7-1 or 8-0.
Well, look at this. So he decided that he only wanted to tap 3 mana. He wanted, because no doubt thinking about that Aetherworks Marvel that has all that energy available to it. He countered the effect and let the Elder Deep Fiend physically hit the table.
Oh wow! Yeah, I guess the 5-6 bodies just kind of bounce off of one another.
Sure.
And then
And here goes the Marvel. Spins it. What does he find?
it's like Rogue Refiner is probably the best option here.
Instead, he goes with Whirler Virtuoso.
Oh, he had exactly 3 energy, so that gives him enough energy to use the Marvel again. I couldn't really see the dice well enough on the top.
this is game one for these guys.
And there's like,
Okay, well, we'll come back. We're going to bounce around as matches end, but we're going to go back to our main match between Eli Cassiss and Steve Rubin. And they are just underway here. Eli's stealing a game there that looked very much in control for Steve Rubin.
absolutely. I mean, that's the thing about this copycat deck is that it can win games completely out of nowhere. And one of the things Eli was talking to me about during the deck tech that I did with him this morning, I'm not sure if it's aired yet.
No, none of those have aired yet. Those will be going up tomorrow.
Oh, awesome. So tomorrow you guys can tune in and watch a deck tech that I did with Eli Cassiss early this morning. But he was talking about all the different ways that he tricks people into letting them combo him. And what we saw in game one was specifically one of the ways that he talked about. So...
Yeah, I mean, if your opponent's going to give you 2 Fevered Visions, and you're going to draw redundant combo pieces.
Oh, absolutely.
So Rogue Refiner for Eli. And then we see Cathartic Reunion, discard Stitchwing, Advanced Stitchwing, sorry, and Fiery Temper. And then Fiery Temper with Madness to kill the Refiner.
And that's like actual card advantage there. Like when you're discarding a Fiery Temper and using it to Cathartic Reunion, you're actually ending up a card. And then the card he put in his graveyard was an advanced scab. So pretty impressive there.
Couple of Servants of the Conduit. That was essential to Eli winning game one, as he had that extra mana off the Servants, where it didn't maybe look... if you did a quick pass by, okay, he's tapped out. It's, nope, he still had 2 mana. He still had the ability to tap the 2 Servants and play that Felidar Guardian.
That's one of the things that's really scary here for Steve is that now Eli can play a land and he'll have access to 7 mana so that he could play the whole combo in one turn if he needed to. So if Steve ever taps out from this point forward,
he doesn't even need the 7th. He doesn't even need the 7th mana because he can always just blink a land with Saheeli. And he has both pieces in hand right now.
Yeah. So if he wants to go for it, he can go for it while the getting's good.
Does he have an Ishkanah Graph Widow in hand?
He is playing a single copy of Ishkanah Graph Widow. He has traversed the Elven Wilds in his deck.
Yeah.
So those can find combo pieces. They can find things that give him energy. They can find.
Eli seems content to slow play this, by the way. And just attacks with the 2 Servants. Oh, and look at this play from Steve Rubin. Discard Fiery Temper, Madness it. Discard Prized Amalgam, return Advanced Stitchwing.
Wow.
So that's just getting maximum use out of your discards there.
And that's, in the business, we call that gross.
Yeah, there's definitely gross card advantage.
Yeah. And it's such a weird kind of card advantage, too, because Steve is, like, getting value out of every zone.
But, I mean, I guess, is Eli just, like, looking to lull him into a false sense of security, get him to tap some mana, and then he's just like, all right, kill you.
And I wouldn't be surprised, but here, with that Sanctum of Ugin, Steve doesn't know it, and it's a hard thing to tell here. And Eli's deck can't interact well with it. Steve, I think, could just chain a pair of Elder Deep Fiends with that Sanctum of Ugin and just kill Eli from this spot here. Like, during your upkeep, Elder Deep Fiend, tap your stuff.
Is that what he's
search for another one
right now?
Yeah, then Elder Deep Fiend. And this is an impossible thing to know that it's good enough to win the game against your opponent's deck, but... Oh, actually, there's a Brutal Expulsion there? Oh, I guess that doesn't really make a difference. It's still good enough to win the game. Just takes one more turn.
So, Brutal Expulsion. Not sure what his targets are. We get a... There you see. So he's returning a creature to hand. Looks like he's returning the Advanced Stitchwing, and then he did 2 damage. Just why not? to the prized amalgam.
And yeah, this does mean that Steve's play does not work.
Okay, now on
the
upkeep,
same
though.
line.
Here comes Elder Deep Fiend. And what is he going to tap? How much mana can you leave him? I guess the better question is which mana. You're going to leave him 2 mana no matter what. He's going to have a third if he plays a land. See, and now he's going to sacrifice the Sanctum of Ugin, go get another copy of Elder Deep Fiend, like you said.
Yep. Now you can use Lightning Axe on Ely's end step. And then if he has another land in hand, then the next turn he can return the advanced scab that he discards to the Lightning Axe to play and sacrifice that to the next Elder Deep Fiend, and then he can swing for the win on the turn that follows that. But he didn't go for the Lightning Axe there.
Now he's holding it. He also just drew a prized amalgam. All right, in comes Elder Deep Fiend. And Ely's going to fall to 9.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't imagine he blocks there.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't even have access to white mana, so without the servant, rather. It's an octopus. It's not just an Eldrazi. It's an Eldrazi octopus.
Yeah. Not a vampire.
Nope.
Can't go in the vampire deck.
It's a cephalopod.
Yeah. All right. Looks like, did Ely just draw a Nahiri, the Harbinger?
I think he's had that in his hand.
So he could actually deal with this existing Deep Fiend here.
Yeah, Steve has chosen to play more carefully than, the all-in route here. And again, when you don't know what's in your opponent's deck, making the perfect decision here is just about impossible.
All right. There's a tireless tracker. Yeah, Ely's in the I'm going to beat you up plan. I'm going to put you under some pressure. Eventually, you're going to tap mana to deal with my stuff. And then I'm just going to follow up with the combo and kill you. Yeah, and there is Nahiri the Harbinger as well. And he is going to take out that Elder Deep Fiend. -2, exile target enchantment, tapped artifact, or tapped creature.
Yeah.
But Lightning Axe, discarding Advanced Stitchwing. Now, Advanced Stitchwing, discarding Fevered Visions, and Prized Amalgam.
And that's
Return
9
two-
damage.
Yeah, return 2 Prized Amalgams, and that's going to be the game. Steve Rubin evens it up. We're going to see a Game 3 for the right to be 9-0 at the end of Day 1 here at Grand Prix Pittsburgh.
2 awesome decks, too.
Yeah,
So
2 sweet
cool.
decks. It's kind of funny,
Yeah.
going into the Pro Tour, Copycat was public enemy number 1.
Yeah, we're like, oh, man.
And now a week later,
stupid.
we're kind of nostalgic for it.
We're like, oh, man, this is so cool. I forgot about this thing. Time changes fast, man. Everybody remembers everything, but the recency is very short. The recency bias.
Well, you know what it is? It's kind of a sweet deck to watch in action.
Yeah, I mean,
There's a lot of decisions. Yes, sometimes you just like your opponent has come into play tapped lands, and you go turn 3 Saheeli, turn 4 Guardian, kill you.
Yeah.
But there's also these really kind of interesting games where you have to bide your time and find this way to win and find this window. That's a lot of fun to watch.
It's interesting, too, because I think the copycat decks before the Pro Tour were kind of boring to watch, the way they were built, for the most part. They started to change the week before a bit, but a deck like Ely's is really cool, and that is not what those decks looked like before that. They were just like piles of control cards, and they were just trying to like hold it all together till they could get these 2 things on the board at the same time. Whereas Ely's deck has a bunch of different things going on, and
I love the idea that he's just I'm just getting in with tireless trackers.
Yeah. He can be aggressive. He's playing 3 or 4 Rogue Refiner, and I was talking to him about the card, and he was like, it's funny because you'd think that this would be kind of like a stretch card because I'm always sideboarding in like at least 6 cards in every matchup, and you'd think like, oh, this card doesn't really like do anything to the core plan of the deck. Like this would be one of the first cards to come out. And he's like, and I've found through testing that I should never be cutting any of these, basically. Like, maybe I'll cut one, but this card is just always what I want to be doing. So, he's definitely played the deck enough to know, where his bread is buttered, and I think it's definitely showing right here. And he's a legacy specialist, and here he is 8-0 at a standard tournament.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this deck certainly feels like, a throwback to older, wider formats.
Maybe even vintage specialist. I would wonder what he would call himself.
Eternal specialist.
Yeah, there you go.
The other things I've noticed with Steve, what's Steve really doing after sideboard with his deck? Because we haven't seen a lot of. His deck hasn't looked very different in game 2s that I've watched.
Yeah, it really has not changed much from game to game in the games we've seen. I mean, we've seen him cut removal spells when he's playing against Dynavolt Tower decks with no removal. Like Lightning Axes weren't in his deck when he played against Dynavolt Tower postboard. We saw Key to the City do some really cool stuff in one match. Wretched Griff has come up quite a bit in postboarded games. So he does have cards that are kind of like upgrades. I think Nahiri's Wrath is kind of the coolest sideboard option that Steve has access to. And we saw that last round.
So Servant of the Conduit comes down on turn 2 for Ely. Follows it up with Oath of Nissa.
In post-board, Ely can protect the combo with Dispel. Which spell?
Yeah, I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to do it.
Bad. I was waiting for it.
Yeah, I know. I countered you.
You did. But that seems like the best way to protect the combo. You're able to just have 1 extra mana, and then...
Yeah, and a little bit of counter magic in the sideboard for Steve Rubin, too. He's got a Dispel. He's got a couple negates. He's got a couple spell shrivels. If he wants to go that route.
It's interesting because Steve's deck, is not using negate the same way a lot of these other control decks are. They're using negate basically just to stop planeswalkers. And we have something else to talk about right now.
Fevered Visions comes down for Steve Rubin.
And we watched this actually kind of be a problem for him in game 1. Like, it gave Ely.
Ely's like, I'm not dead yet, and I have all these cards. I'm gonna find some way to assemble the combo. I was kind of where I was getting at when I was wondering about the sideboard cards for Steve Rubin. I was wondering if he was going to cut back on this card, which is obviously pretty crucial to his deck. Here's Felidar Guardian. This is one of the cool interactions with the deck. He gets to blink, basically exile, and then it immediately returns to play Oath of Nissa and go digging for some new cards.
Yeah, and it's pretty exciting, the fact that the combo deck has access to this. And this is what I really love about the 4-color version of the deck as opposed to the Jeskai version of the deck. I think Oath of Nissa really just changes the power level of the deck entirely and allows you to play a lot of different games and not just be super linear and give your opponent one thing to care about.
Steve Rubin starts getting to work on life totals. It does 2 damage. Fevered Visions does 2 damage at the end of Ely's turn. Steve Rubin unaffected by that clause on the card. It only hits your opponents.
And especially against this format, you're going to have opponents with 4 more cards in their hand a lot of the time. Like, people are trying to not run out of gas and building their decks to have longevity, and as a result, they're getting punished by a card like Fevered Visions out of Steve Rubin's deck.
Yeah, it may look like... Here comes Nahiri, the Harbinger, and this can take care of Fevered Visions. This is an answer to Fevered Visions. Exiles the enchantment. A very versatile sideboard card here for Ely. who now casts Traverse the Overwald. Does not have, I don't even think he has 4 cards in his graveyard, much less Delirium. So he's going to go and get a land.
Yeah, Ely was telling me that one of the reasons why he has so many different Planeswalkers is because of how much it helps him hit Delirium for his Traverse. He wanted to keep his Planeswalker count at a certain number.
So now we're going to see Steve Rubin. He didn't do anything on his turn, but that's because he knows he was bringing back this Stitchwing Scab.
And if he has some prized amalgams, this could be really, really good for him.
He does have a Fiery Temper.
It's pretty good.
Doesn't look like he has anything super exciting beyond the Fiery Temper to discard here. Yeah, discards a land. Fiery Temper. Fiery Temper is going to take out Nahiri. Now he's going to Lightning Axe, and he's going to take out the Felidar Guardian. But again, not doing no more Fevered Visions for him. So this is he doesn't have the same kind of constant source of fuel for his hand for these kind of shenanigans that he did earlier. But he animates Wandering Fumarole and attacks for 7 here.
It's a big amount of damage. And I mean, the thing is, though, he's pretty much out of gas from that point.
And Ely untaps, shows him the combo. He says, look, I got both pieces, buddy. Let's go. I'm 9-0.
I blinked an oath already.
Yeah.
You kidding me, buddy?
9-0. Ely Cassiss, 4-color copycat.
Yeah.
The deck nowhere to be seen on day 2 at the Pro Tour, but here at Grand Prix Pittsburgh with some tweaks, some metagame adjustments, Ely's able to take this deck to 9-0. Sweet deck from Steve Rubin at 8-1. I'm sure we'll see more of it tomorrow. This blue-red fevered Emerge deck. So we're going to jump over here now to David Haas. This is, again, the Teamer Marvel deck playing against Jeskai Control. And Jeskai Control has awoken a horror.
Yeah, that's a 7-8 right there. It was once encased in ice. But now it's doing a lot of scary things.
So David Haas trying to do the same thing with his Tireless Tracker. Just starts cracking clues, makes it bigger, draws some cards, looking for answers.
Yeah, David's deck is very similar to Ely's deck, actually, but he has access to Aetherworks Marvel. That's the major difference.
Now, he did draw another Tireless Tracker, or had another Tireless Tracker that got bounced to his hand. He is very low on life.
Yeah, one more attack from an Awoken Horror, and this game ends for him.
He can play Tireless Tracker, play a land, get 2 clues.
That's true.
But he would have to put both Tireless Trackers in the way.
If he wanted to trade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David is up a game. So there's Tireless Tracker number 2. Decides to use his basic lands for it.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, we want more options. You might draw some cards this turn.
So you never know what you draw.
Yeah, plays a land, gets 2 clues, 1 for each Tireless Tracker. Now Oath of Nissa. There is Saheeli. Does he have a Guardian in hand?
Oh, now he's a mana short. And I mean, he can tap whatever lands he wants to cast the Saheeli, thanks to Oath of Nissa.
So he gets in. Christopher falls to 11. Still has 2 clues.
Now, what's interesting is he has Lumbering Falls in play, So if he chumps here with the tireless tracker, if he has the opportunity to, and then he sacrifices both of those other clues, then he can actually attack for lethal with the big tireless tracker plus the lumbering falls on the following turn if Christopher doesn't have a way to interact.
All right, here comes the Awoken Horror, and tireless tracker wakes up, finds some giant thing looming over him, and blocks it. So clues for David. 6, 7 power now for the tireless tracker.
Yeah, and then he just has to have a land to sacrifice to make another clue to sacrifice. And then that plus lumbering falls is a lethal attack.
We talked about this with Ely's deck, this idea that they can just go on offense here and put some pressure on their opponents. He definitely has.
I think he can do that and then still have a chump blocker left over.
Well, here's Rogue Refiner.
Did he just tap the lumbering falls? He did. Yeah. So he no longer has the line where he could sacrifice the clue and make his guy have 8 power, and then the lumbering falls 3 more.
He does have Saheeli Rai. He can blink land and set up the tireless tracker as well.
Yep. It can't find this Felidar Guardian. He's looking pretty aggressively.
So
Oh, and he had Dispel also? Wow.
So there is Saheeli Rai. It looks like he's going to blink. Oh, he's just showing the mana. He's like, I can tap whatever mana I want. I've got Oath of Nissa in play. Doesn't matter. He can pay any mana to cast it.
Yeah. That's what Oath of Nissa does.
He's waiting for a response from Christopher. Only 2 cards in hand. See, Christopher has something.
Oh, wow, yeah.
He has a torrential Gear Hulk.
So if David did go for the win there, he would have just gotten blown out and died. I think Christopher probably drew that Gear Hulk this turn.
And so he's going to disallow. But we know that David has the Dispel. And what are you going to do with Saheeli now?
I think Oath of Nissa?
You can also do a land, get 2 clues.
Well, you get 1 clue, right?
Oh, he only gets 1 clue now. You're right. Yeah. One of those trackers is gone. He's just going to do the Rogue Refiner. He's just going to straight up draw a card, get a little more energy.
Yeah, and I mean, he is a Marvel deck also.
Wow.
Oh, this is a close game.
This is super close.
Christopher really has nothing left, but his board is vastly superior. And David is, operating on all cylinders, but just can't find the other piece of the combo. And
all right, here's a land, a clue. And he's got to pass the turn back to Christopher. What is Christopher going to do? Just needs that Awoken Horror to hit. So David Haas is at 6. Looks like he has another Torrential Gear Hulk in hand.
Oh, wow. It's one heck of a draw step.
He has another Disallow in his yard. He has a Dispel in his yard. Radiant Flame's not eligible to participate in those Gear Hulk games.
Too well in the Gear Hulk game. I believe David does have negate, so at this point it is just a 5/6, but a 5/6 is pretty good in this spot.
So David can get his tireless tracker up to 8 power, but chooses to instead just chump block.
Yeah, and it's important to remember he does have negate in hand, so, wanting to leave open that negate mana.
Christopher's just like, don't mind this one card in my hand over here.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
It's nothing. Nothing.
It's only one.
What could it be? What could it even be? All right, here's Oath of Nissa. There's an Elder Deep Fiend.
Ooh, wow.
And the mana to
We've
just
seen that
cast
card be
it
good.
if he needs to.
Oh, one shy of casting it with negate up.
Here's Whirler Virtuoso, and that's chump blockers for days right now.
That is a very big card right here. And David, a little disappointed that he didn't have the 8 mana. He has no idea that the Whirler Virtuoso is actually a way better play right here. Because he can't know that Christopher had top-decked another copy of Torrential Gearhulk.
And the Whirler Virtuoso actually gives him the mana to cast Elder Deep Fiend and have negate up.
Yeah. I mean, so he's not going to make Thopters, though. It's
No,
he's...
I'm going to tap this, and that. I'd like to tap those.
Yeah, these are the ones that I would like to tap.
Christopher is thinking. And he can actually has Torrential Gearhulk and Disallow in his yard. So there's a number of options for him here. He can disallow the ability of the Elder Deep Fiend. He can also choose to disallow, float mana, and disallow the Deep Fiend itself.
It's important to remember David does have negate, so the disallow probably not happening. So it is the last card in Christopher's hand.
Both these players just want to end the day undefeated.
Oh, yeah. This is got to be so rough for both of them.
Marchon still needs to win another game after this one.
Yeah.
Okay, he's going to tap the mana. And this is going to be Torrential Gearhulk. It's like, does my Torrential Gearhulk resolve? Yes. Does my disallow resolve? No. And Christopher Marchon extends the hand. David Haas, Teamer Marvel, goes to 9-0. That's our second Saheeli Rai day.
Wow.
At 9-0 here at the end of day one. We've already seen Eli Cassiss get to 9-0 with his 4-color copycat deck.
Yeah. Pretty impressive stuff there. These 4-color decks, these 4-color Saheeli Rai strategies seem to be pretty good this weekend. 2 of them at 9-0. One of them is an Aetherworks Marvel version of the deck.
Pretty exciting. It looks like our feature matches are just about all over. I don't see anybody else still playing unless there's someone at that table over there in the back, but I don't believe so. And so we'll, you should definitely check out Daily MTG for a recap of the day, find out who all the undefeated players were, get a little bit of a sense of the metagame breakdown. But that's it right now here for round 9. 2 of our 9-0 players both playing Saheeli Rai. Don't bury it yet. That's day 1 here at Grand Prix Pittsburgh.
Pretty cool day.
Pretty cool day. My favorite deck, absolutely on day 1, Steve Rubin's Fevered Visions Emerge deck. Really exciting deck. I saw this deck on Magic Online during the week. I saw someone playing it
You were
against
so
me.
excited.
I'm like, what the hell is this deck, Jake? Taking pictures of it. Not even screenshots. I actually just holding my phone. You could see my reflection in the picture. I'm like, Jake, what the heck is this deck? You're like, I don't know, but I love it.
Sweet.
And then you said you saw that it had 5-0'd. And obviously, this is something Steve's been working on. Very cool deck. Definitely want to check that out. But it's 8-1. It lost to Ili Cassiss. 9-0 playing 4-color Copycat. And then we also saw another Sihili Rai Felidar Guardian combo deck that was an Aetherworks Marvel energy-based version that also went 9-0. Definitely go to Daily MTG, find out about all the players who went 9-0, tell you what to expect tomorrow, give you a little bit of a recap of the day for Jacob Van Lunen, for Marshall Sutcliffe, for Paul Cheon, Rich Hagon, Rashad Miller, and everybody else here who's been doing this. We'll see you tomorrow. We've got a hell of a day in store for us as we go towards crowning a Grand Prix Pittsburgh champion.